Hello and welcome to Fox Sports Lab AFL. I'm your host, Jack Heverin, in the chair this week for Ben Dixon. With me, as always, AFL great, Jason Dunstall. Hello,
Jack.
Chief.
How are you, mate?
Good to see our Paton back as well.
Yeah.
No suntan from Tasmania, but he did bring back with him a 19th team. Hello, Al.
Yeah, I think it was about 3 degrees at Cradle Mountain, so no sunscreen required. But yeah, no, it's exciting what's happening down there.
How's the power of Al Paton?
Oh, mate. It's exciting, though. It's an exciting development. So congratulations to Tasmania. Although we shouldn't jump the gun. Nothing's official yet, but we all know it's happening.
It's pretty much happening, isn't it? Anthony Albanese's going down to Tasmania. It's happening. Hey, let's start with the Saints, Chief. A lot of people want to sell the Saints at the moment. Are you buying back in?
Oh, buy, please. I panicked when I saw Collingwood-Carlton coming up. They were within a kick of Collingwood. They rolled over the Blues, and they've got a great draw coming up. So get back on because they are flying.
5-1 at the moment, St Kilda, Al. They were 5-1 last year as well, so they've been here before, different coach. What's different this year about them?
Yeah, well, I mean, the coach obviously is the standout difference that we can see. And when it comes to defence, we know premierships and winning game styles are built on defence, and Ross is clearly the boss in this area. You look at teams who've conceded the fewest number of points in the first 6 rounds of a season. The record is held by St Kilda in 2009. Under Ross Lyon. And this year, the Saints ranked number 4. So they're right up there again. I think it's 59.5 points against is all they're conceding, which is basically right on what Carlton managed last week. And I think what they're doing this year that makes them exciting and is what I think can keep them in good stead going through the season is when they get the ball, they're not stopping and going sideways and backwards, they're going forward and they move the ball really quickly and get it into their sort of mid-sized forwards, I guess, who are doing a great job, even with key players out.
They're only number 9 when it comes to points for, so they're an average attacking team, but their defence is so good. They're 100 points better than the second best defensive team, which is the Cats, so they are just smashing it. And they play a system. The midfield works hard defensively to help out, so they don't get outnumbered, they don't get exposed one-on-one. They've got a couple of stars down back, I think, in Jack Sinclair, who he knows a great running halfback, and Callum Wilkie, who I really rate, but the rest of them just play a role. That's what you have to do under Ross. And if you play your role, I mean, we'll talk about the players due to come back shortly, but they're not walk-up starts because if you keep playing well, you'll hold your spot under Ross.
And he's said that, hasn't he? That there's selection integrity, that guys like a Tim Membry and Ben King still to come, they're not going to just walk straight back into that team, are they?
Exactly right. So if you want to be part of the finals team, play well, and you might just be there because they are playing finals.
Al, what about their fixture? So we mentioned they've got 5 wins on the board already. They're almost halfway there to making the finals. What's coming up for them?
Yeah, well, I think this is where you can get a little bit excited if you're a St Kilda fan. I know some St Kilda fans and they're trying to keep the lid on, but last year, as we said, they also started well. But if we try and remember, it's only a couple of years ago they actually snuck into the finals. So last year they had a reasonably difficult fixture. This year it's a bit different because they had a poor year last year. They get an easier run. They haven't played Hawthorn yet and they've got them twice. They haven't played the Kangaroos yet and they've got them twice. So you think that holds them in pretty good stead to get those wins on the board.
Take the lid off. You're playing finals.
Ross is trying to play it down, Jace.
Well, I mean, the power at Marvel, that's a good place to get them. The Crows in Adelaide, that's going to be the tough one coming up. But Giants and Hawks not far away. So, I mean, they could theoretically at the bye be 10-1. I think 9-2 at worst.
Wow.
It's then just a matter of how can you position yourself, hopefully hang on to a top 4 spot in the run home to the final.
Who's still to come? You've had a look at their injury list. It's still quite long, but hit us with some of the names that are coming back.
Well, Max King, we know, is going to be an exciting player. I just think Anthony Caminiti, when he gets back from suspension, will be important. You got Caulfield, Zach Jones, Jack Billings. And I'm not saying any of them are walk-up starts, but they are good players if they're in form. And that's the great thing. If Ross Lyon's got a fit list and he's just picking the in-form players, it's going to be an exciting year for the Saints supporters.
Well, Billings came back last week in the VFL. I think he might have played 3 quarters, kicked 3 goals, so he's sort of just about ready to go again. And again, as you say, it just adds to the depth, which is always good. And the other one I think to note is that Jack Steele has missed a couple of games. This time last year, Max King had kicked 17 goals, and Jack Steele would have been, one of the top 2 or 3 mids in the AFL, and they haven't had that this year, and they're still winning. So, Steele was pretty rusty coming back from injury last week, so he can still build, and obviously when King gets back, that's a whole other element to their game. So, I think there's a lot to get excited about.
So, just to put a full stop on this, you're taking the lid off, are you?
Lid's off. I bought all my stock back, and I'm trying to get some more because they're only going one way, and that's up.
Well, there you have it, Saints fans. The bandwagon, including Jason Dunstall, just keeps gathering momentum. We're a quarter of the way into the season, so it looks like a great time to have a look at the Brownlow Medal tracker. Chief, there are very short odds available for Nick Dacos. Should we be climbing in now?
Deservedly so. I know a few people that have backed him at a big price before the season started, and they're very, very happy. This man is chalking up the votes, and Al, incredibly hard to tag. I'm sure if you were doing your Brownlow voting system, he's probably leading, but he's quick, he works hard. It's difficult because he moves from zone to zone. He can go into the midfield, he can go forward when they need him. Oh boy, he's going to be very, very hard to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I think before the season is when you wanted to get on him. That's the only thing, he's just so short now.
Yep.
So you're looking around for who else you could potentially pick. I think Marcus Bontempelli's had a fantastic start to the season. Jeremy Cameron is flying. Jace, can a key forward win it?
No. Doesn't happen. I wish he would, but it doesn't happen, unfortunately. I think Darcy Parish will poll votes. He's having a good year, and Essendon have been winning games. And I also like Jordan Dawson, who's had a great start to the Crows. And again, you've got to pick a team that's going to win a lot of games.
Any other smokies, Al, that we might have forgotten?
I like Caleb Sarong as a smoky, but the worry is, like you just said, they need to win games. Yeah. So he's had 35 and 37 disposals in their 2 wins. Yeah. So you think there's some votes there. He's having a great season, averaging 28. I think he has had above 28 touches in every game. But yeah, you'd want Freo to maybe start winning a few more games. But he's someone to look at maybe at a little bit longer odds.
Well, there it is. It's a fascinating early look at this year's Brownlow Medal. Okay, Al, we've done a deep dive on the Saints, but now it's time to put our convictions to the test. Will they beat Port Adelaide in the big stage of Friday night footy?
Well, they're playing at Marvel, so you think that gives them a pretty good head start. But looking at some of the numbers, I mean, Port Adelaide has won 11 of their last 12 against the Saints, and they've actually won the last 7 games they've come over and played at Marvel. So Saints wouldn't want to be, off their game at all. And Port's probably sneaking under the radar, going a bit better than a lot of people might think this year. But yeah, hard to tip against Ross at the moment.
It's a strong record, isn't it? When you look at that, 11 of their last 12 against the Saints. Having said that, the Saints have been rubbish for the last few seasons, so I can understand why they're getting beaten. They're not rubbish this year, and without Todd Marshall up forward, I think it's going to be a little bit different for Port, trying to put a score against that defence that we've spoken so highly about. So, yeah, I'm definitely on the Saints.
Al, what about you?
Yeah, no, tipping the Saints in here. And one player just to put a little pin on, Ollie Wines this year, averaging the fewest disposals since his debut season. He's been pushed out of the midfield a bit by the likes of Butters and Rosie and Horne-Francis. Yep. So, I mean, there's someone there maybe that can lift for Port. But, yeah, tipping Ross and the Saints to get another win.
You'll find, Jack, that he doesn't go out on a limb too often. Very straight bat when it comes to tips, Al.
Let's turn that one down to fine leg for a single. Looks like we're all on the Ross Lyon bandwagon this weekend.
You know it's a better betting app when you've got stats and insights for every major game and race. Plus expert opinions from the best minds in the game, all in the palm of your hand. That's better. You win some, you lose more.
We've got the Battle of the Bridge in Sydney on Saturday, and Chief, the Swans injury list, well, surely this has to give the Giants a chance.
Well, you'd be all out on the Giants if they were any good, but unfortunately they haven't played that well this season. This actually becomes a really difficult match to forecast because we don't know about the fitness of some of the Sydney players, and there'll be a question mark. And even the selected team to what actually runs out there could be very, very different as well. So you're right, the Giants are getting them at the right team, but they've lost their most important player, Al. Sam Taylor, I think just about the best defender in the competition. They're going to struggle without him.
Yeah, well, the Swans obviously have their injury issues, especially down back, and we saw last week that was clearly exposed. I mean, incredible stat that Sydney has given up scores of over 130 points to the opposition only 4 times since John Longmire started coaching in 2011, and 2 of them have been in the past 4 weeks. But it was against Melbourne and the Cats, and do the Giants have that kind of firepower to make the most of that?
No, they don't.
Clearly no. Jace isn't convinced on the Giants. So what about another match, Al? Let's have a look at the Tigers. The Suns on Sunday. Is this finals goodbye for the loser of this game?
Well, the worry for Richmond is that they've had their issues with the Suns ever since Gold Coast came into the competition. We go back as far as Carmichael Hunt, and they don't love playing at Marvel either, Richmond. They played there 3 times last year for 2 losses and a draw. You'd think, they have to turn it around this week. This has to be the week. And one player to watch, Jacob Hopper, averages 29 disposals against the Suns over his career, clearly the best against any opposition, and he's had a pretty good year for the Tigers so far, so hopefully he can help them get their season back on track.
Just a hard team to trust at the moment, the Tigers. They had a great half against Melbourne, they had a great quarter against the Bulldogs, kicked 8, a great quarter against the Swans, I think they kicked 7 or 8. Last chance for me, the Tigers, and then I'm dropping off if they get beaten by the Suns.
Well, there you have it. We're all with the Swans and we're also all with the Tigers as well. Well, Jace, I'm in the chair for Dicko this week. I think it's fair to say that his tips are very ordinary so far this season, but unfortunately yours aren't much better. What's the secret to your lack of success?
But they are marginally better than him. Dicko and I have learnt some lessons over the first few weeks of tipping. One of those is don't ignore what's right in front of you. So I've ignored Essendon to my detriment. I've ignored St Kilda to my detriment. It's taken me a little while to catch on. Dicko was dumb enough to tip North Melbourne. I mean, who tips North Melbourne? Seriously, that has to cost you. And again, what about the mistake I made last week? Seriously, tipping an injury-riddled team down at GMHBA Stadium. Dumb. Just dumb. So, got to play it smart. I'm still in striking distance of Al. I don't think for a minute that he's comfortable. And he knows it. He's nervous, but I'll get it. And Dicko's just cannon fodder down the bottom.
Did you tip the card last week?
I may have, yes. But I think the secret there was that I was away, so I got my tips in early in the week. Just doesn't give you time to overthink it and come up with a crazy theory like maybe tipping the Swans down at Geelong. So sometimes it is boring, but you just go with the obvious pick.
Okay, Chief. Don't think, do. It's time to make amends. 2 massive games this weekend. Why don't we start with the Crows and the Magpies in one of the games of the round in Adelaide?
Funnily enough, I've gone for an upset here, but this is a tight game. I think, look, I've been a Collingwood fan since the beginning of the season. I really like the way they're playing, and they're one of the flag favourites for mine, but I really like the way Adelaide have improved, and they've done it in their midfield. For me, that's been the big turnaround. They play a nice, contested, hard brand under Matthew Nicks, but they've got Jordan Dawson and Josh Rochelle, good ball users in the middle of the ground now, which has opened up the forward line for them. So they're licking their chops every time they stream out of the middle, and they're a good clearance team. They're just hitting targets. Rankin's kicking goals for them. Tex Walker's still playing great footy. So there's a lot to like about the way they're going about their business, and I just think at home maybe they can catch the Pies after Anzac Day.
Yeah, Collingwood has a decent record coming off the shorter break, but yeah, Crows are going well as well. I just hope on Sunday, which is going to be an absolute cracker, to finish the round, the coaches both don't bother with any kind of tag, because we'll get a shootout between Nick Dacos, who we've talked about, is just absolutely flying. 2 40-possession games in a row, and last time he played the Crows over there in Adelaide last year, in his first season, he had 40 and 3 goals. And on the other side, you've got Rory Laird, who's coming into some great form. He averages 36 touches in his last 3 games against Collingwood, and he had a world record 20 tackles in this game last year. So just looking forward to seeing those 2 guys go head to head.
You might be hoping for no tags. I'm hoping Ben Keys, who's playing that defensive forward role, might just wander over somewhere in the vicinity of Nick Dacos. That would be nice.
Surely he doesn't run around on his own again, does he? Sure.
Let's hope. I got a feeling he might get some attention this week.
I think so. Al, is it a tough ask for the Bombers to go to the MCG, play an informed Geelong after a 5-day break?
Yeah, it is, unfortunately, I think, for them. I mean, they were pretty good on Anzac Day, really. I mean, just Collingwood unstoppable in that last quarter. And now they've got to back up against the Cats, coming off a pretty easy win against the Swans. So Geelong maybe still yet to be totally convincing. The teams they've beaten haven't been in the best form. But, yeah, I think this one's going to be tough for Brad Scott.
Trying not to look past what's right in front of my face. Essendon playing well for 3 quarters. They took it up to Collingwood, but also Geelong, 3 wins in a row. A confidence booster last week. I'm still not convinced they're the Geelong of last year, but I've just gone for Geelong in this one. I actually had to have a second thought about this, because we've underestimated Essendon. And if they get under my guard here and actually bounce back and beat Geelong, I'll be so angry with myself. So angry.
All right, let's quickly go back over our tips from round 7. Al, you're going to be playing it pretty straight this week, leaning on the favourites to win, but the Chief, you've gone 1 out with the Crows to beat the Magpies. Let's see how they go.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to get to the last game, because we're all the same up until then, and that's where I make my move, and I just get 1 up on Al.
Yeah, I did consider the Crows. I mean...
there it is.
Here we go.
That's hard to tip over there, but Collingwood have won their last 6 against them, including at Adelaide Oval last year.
Way to
I think you've got
shoot me
to stick with the winners.
Shot to bits.
He's the tipping machine. You've just got to go with what you know, and that's Al. Thanks for our show this week. It's been an absolute blast. Thanks to you, Jace.
Pleasure.
Better luck with your tips this week. Thanks to Al. Hopefully you can tip the card once again. It's great to have you back. And make sure you subscribe and also follow us on the socials. Enjoy the footy. We'll see you next week.
You know it's a better betting app when you've got stats and insights for every major game and race. Plus expert opinions from the best minds in the game, all in the palm of your hand. That's better. You win some, you lose more.